Hello and welcome to another Warhammer 40k Imperial Guard Tactics video. Now before we get into today's video, I would like to say a huge thank you to Jamie Oster for being a channel member and for sending in some awesome pictures of his Imperial Guard, his Vostroyans. Absolutely love the old Vostroyan models. I think they're some of the best sculpts that GW ever did for the Imperial Guard. They're obviously based in something in real life like all Guard regiments, but they've had their own twist put on them with all this bionics and the cool sculpts and the unique uniforms. They just look absolutely fantastic. So thank you for sending these pictures in, Jamie. I really like what you've done with these models. They look gritty, they look grim, they look dark, they look like Vostroyan should look, but they've also got that beautiful banner with that deep yellow colour that you just want to go swimming in and let it tan you. It just looks absolutely fantastic. So thank you for these pictures, Jamie. If anyone else has got any cool pictures they want me to use in my videos, please post them on my Facebook page, or you can email them to me at mordianglorytv@gmail.com. And don't worry if you're an ogre who's not had his bonehead surgery yet, there'll be links down in the description below. But without further ado, let's crack on with today's video. So today, guys, I want to do another quick tip Tactica, and we're going to be talking about some Vostroyan tactics. Ooh, very interesting. Mordian Glory, what's going on? Why are you talking about Vostroyans? Don't you love Cadians? Cadians are the only regiment you can run competitively. Well, that's not true. Cadians may have a lot of tools in the toolbox, but we should not forget there are many other regiment choices out there, and they all can be made to work if you put some practice in, work some tactics out, and play your little heart out. Any regiment can be made to work. And so what I want to do today, guys, is move away from just the endless waves of me saying, take Cadians, Cadians have got all the tools in the toolbox, and all that kind of stuff, and just look at a quick tip Tactica for my Vostroyan brethren out there. I thought we've got some Vostroyans on the screen, let's talk about some goddamn Vostroyans. And so what I want to talk to you about is a little tactic that I just sort of thought about while I was just sort of driving along one day that I sort of nicknamed the Vostroyan Melta bomb. Okay, and it's a nice little tactic that I think is going to start coming back into effect with the change to CP that we're seeing. So you won't be able to like spam as many infantry squads. You're going to need some more concentrates, some more elite forces, and I think it just means that it is a tool in the toolbox for our Vostroyan players, and it leans into a lot of things that I've been talking about recently: chimeras, force concentration, and getting your best bang for your buck and all that kind of good stuff. So what I like to do with this tactic is essentially it leans into the lone wolf tactics, the flanking squad tactics that I came up with for my Armageddon Steel Legion. So that basic concept was, if you're running a large mechanized force, or any Imperial Guard force really, one thing that you might want to consider doing is taking a squad, putting it in a chimera and shooting up the side of the table, because one chimera with an infantry squad on its own doesn't tend to draw a lot of attention, and surprisingly, it normally gets left alone. However, there is another way of using lone wolf tactics. Rather than looking at something that can sneak up a flank and get you some engage points and maybe take an objective here and there, sometimes you want a small concentrated force of men that can just apply a serious amount of firepower in a very direct format, and that they've got the manoeuvrability to make sure that firepower is where it needs to be every single time. And this is where the Vostroyan Melta bomb comes in. Now, just to be clear, this tactic isn't limited to any particular regiment. You can do this with anything, but the Vostroyans do have a trick up the sleeve which do make it quite cost effective. So what you want to do is you want to take a platoon commander, a chimera, a command squad, and a special weapons squad. Now you can always sub out that special weapons squad for another command squad, but bear with me, we'll go through the version 1 of the Melta bomb, and then we'll go through the version 2 of the Melta bomb, okay? And both have their advantages and disadvantages. So the version 1 of the Melta bomb is quite simple. You take your chimera, you put your platoon commander in it, you put your special weapons squad, you put your command squad in there, and you give every single one of them melta guns. Now you could give them plasma guns as well if that's your preferred special weapon, but today we'll talk about melta guns, because meltas are kind of the meta weapon at the moment. And it's a relatively simple package. What you do is you take your chimera, you put those units inside so they're protected, and what happens is when an enemy unit gets close, or there's a particularly high value target that you want to be able to destroy, maybe you've got some Imperial Knights in your meta, what happens is you jump the infantry out with the platoon commander, and they are able to get 7 melta gun shots in close range of the enemy. Now you might be thinking, what's so special about this? We've been able to do this for ages. Well, what makes this more cost effective than previously is you can use a platoon commander for it rather than a company commander, because platoon commander can issue the order take aim on those units, and they will all get to reroll ones, not just one anymore, because take aim goes from one unit to the next unit as long as they're all within 6 inches of each other. So that's really effective. Now you might say, but what? So where does the Vostroyan bit come into? Well, the Vostroyans have got a CP, they've got a stratagem called Firstborn Pride, and it means for 1 CP they can make 1 unit have a +1 to hit. So what you can do is, rather than having your special weapon squad hitting on 4s, you can have your command squad hitting on 3s, and then spend 1 CP and have your special weapon squad hitting on 3s as well. And this is a really cheap, cost-effective way of getting loads of getting 7 Melta guns hitting on 3s, re-rolling 1s into your opponent. Now, that's version 1 of it. And the advantage of this is that it's quite cheap. It comes in at about 200, 215 points. And it costs you 1 CP. And that's what I was almost calls the bronze tier, or silver tier, whatever you want to call it, of the Vostroyan Melta bomb. But there's another 2 tiers to this tactic that you can implement. So one thing you might want to consider is the fact that CP is going to be coming at a premium. Now, you will get the same amount throughout the game, but still you're going to be starting off with 6 rather than with 12 if the new CP updates are to be believed. Now, Vostroyans aren't as CP hungry as other regiments. I mean, typically you're basically going to be spending Firstborn Pride every single turn, so, you know, and maybe a couple of morale ones, maybe a CP reroll. So Vostroyans shouldn't be, you know, so thirsty for CP like their Cadian cousins, but it's still, you're going to want to take into account that you're not going to have as much CP. So another way of running this, which is not as CP intensive, but a little bit more points intensive, is instead of taking the CP in there, you can instead take Adria Modellon, who is the Psyker from Blackstone Fortress. Still a viable choice for us to take in our guard army. GW hasn't got rid of it yet. And essentially she has a psychic power, and when you cast it, she can give +1 to hit to 1 of your units. Now the great thing about this tactic is it's regiment agnostic. It's regiment, it doesn't care what regiment you're in. You can take a command squad, you can take a special weapon squad, you can take the platoon commander, you can take Adria Modellon, and she can give +1 to hit to the special weapon squad. And yes, it's going to cost you 45 more points, but you're able to save some CP, and you can use it in any regiment that you want. So that's kind of like bronze tier 2 almost, or silver tier you could say. Now the next thing you could do is actually combine the best of both worlds. You might say, I've got enough CP and I've got enough points. I want to be able to have both of my squads hitting as well as possible. So in that case, you take platoon commander, special weapons squad, command squad, and Adria Modellon, and because the Chimera can fit all of that in, because Chimera's got 10 transport capacity, 12 transport capacity, sorry, and that is 12 models, you're able to then drive along, jump out. Adria Modellon can get her psychic power off. You can give the command squad +1 to hit. You can then use a CP on Firstborn Pride. Special weapons squad can have +1 to hit, and then you're looking at 1 unit hitting on 2s, re-rolling 1s, and another unit hitting on 3s, re-rolling 1s. So Vostroyans are kind of unique in that they can do that, because they can get 2 sources of +1 to hit, which is not so easy for guard forces anymore. Now that is going to set you back, about 260 points. So you're looking at over like 10% of your army in this little package. You're going to want to make sure that it gets a good return. There is one other way. This is what I would call the gold tier of the Vostroyan Melta bomb, and this is the one that probably does the most damage. You're going to want to just go, right, if I'm going to have a Melta bomb unit, if I'm going to have a unit that can just jump out and just do as much damage as possible, then you want to, instead of just taking the 1 command squad, you go for 2 command squads. Now, obviously, you can only take 1 command squad per officer. So the sort of bronze and silver tier of the Melta bomb is quite nice, because it means if you don't have any other officers, it doesn't matter. But let's assume that you've got a company commander floating around somewhere, or another platoon commander floating around somewhere, and you've got access to 2 command squads. In that case, take 2 command squads, give them all Melta, and then you might, give the platoon commander a plasma pistol as well. Why the heck not? He can still get benefit from his own take aim, right? And then you take Adria Modellon, put her in the Chimera, and so what happens is you drive forward, you jump out, I should say you jump out the next turn or whatever, you're able to get +1 to hit on 1 of the command squads, so it's hitting on 2s. You're able to get another +1 to hit from Adria Modellon on the other command squad, so it's hitting on 2s. You do take aim, so they're all hitting on 2s, re-rolling 1s, which basically means you're going to hit. Welcome to being a custody. And then you also, the platoon commander's got a plasma pistol. Why not? You know, these guys aren't expected to live past the drop anyway, because they go in, they blow something up, and then they typically will get cleared away. And then so the platoon commander can overcharge his plasma pistol, fire off as well, and that's an extra damage 2 shot. And so you've got a lot of weapons hitting on 2s, re-rolling 1s. You know, you can even, so it's just a really effective way of just getting 8 Melta guns, hitting on 2s, rerolling 1s, up close and personal. They're protected because they're in the Chimera. And it's a really effective little tactic. But that one will set you back about 300 points roughly. So that's just something you're going to have to be aware of. It's about 1.5% of your points at a 2k game. So as with many of these quick tip tacticals that I've come up with, there's kind of multiple tiers to it, and it's up to you where you feel comfortable. You might be like, look, I just want the bronze tier. I'm kind of tight for points anyway. That's fine. I'll just take the special weapons squad. I'll just have them hit on 3s rolling 1s. That's good enough for me. You might be like, no, if I'm taking something like this, it has to do the job. So I'm going to go all out on points, and it's going to achieve its mission. Another thing to mention is you don't just have to do this with Melta guns. You could emulate exactly the same thing with plasma guns and get a lot more volume. And if you're getting a lot more volume of shots, you could be triggering Hammer of the Emperor a hell of a lot more as well. So that's something else to be aware of. Last thing to mention, there is one Achilles heel to the gold tier, which is the fact that there's no sacrificial bodies in that tier. Now, what do I mean by that? Well, in the first 2 tiers, in gold, in silver and bronze, you've got the special weapon squads, right? And what happens there, if the Chimera dies, you have to roll 1s to see how many people die getting out of the Chimera. You've got 3 riflemen for the special weapon squad, so you don't care what happens to them. They can be the first ones to die. However, if your Chimera gets blown up on the way of delivering its payload with the gold tier, then you've got no sacrificial bodies. You're going to have to really hope you don't roll any 1s, because if you do, you're going to have to make some hard decisions, and more than likely, you're going to lose some plasma guns, you're going to lose some Melta guns. So that's just something to be aware of if you're going to be running the gold tier sort of version of this quick tip Tactica. So that's it for today's tactic video, but before we go, I want to do a few thank yous. I want to say thank you to everyone that signed up as a channel member recently. It makes a massive difference, and I really, truly appreciate your support. So I want to say a big thank you to the Catachad, TV Turmoil, Urban Steel 77, and Matt Finish, Aero, Matthew Schultz, and the Half Inch Stream. You guys are absolutely fantastic, and I really appreciate you signing up as channel members. I also want to say a big thank you to all of my Patreon supporters. You guys have been long-term supporters of the Mordian Glory channel, and I really, really appreciate it. This channel wouldn't be here without the support of my ongoing Patreon members. And I just want to say a big thank you to a recent Patreon supporter who signed up, Plup, for becoming a conscript. It really does make a huge difference, and I just want to say a massive thank you to everyone who has become a Patreon supporter. I also want to say a thank you to some of our most generous Patreon supporters out there, those people that have really gone above and beyond and are donating significant amounts of money to keep the Mordian Glory channel going. So I want to say a massive thank you to Guardian Varney and John Stubbs for signing up at the Lord General level, and also to Shooter McGavin and Swordfish Thumbs for being channel patron commissars. You guys are absolutely fantastic, and it's thanks to your generosity that the Mordian Glory channel is going from strength to strength. So massive thank you to everyone. I hope you enjoyed today's video. If you have, please consider giving it a like and a subscribe, and of course, I'll see you guys next time.